card is filled in. Which of these warriors will prove their strength to the world?
Welcome to Versus, the series where we compare two similar things and make a review on them. Today's matchup is Tomb Raider versus Uncharted. In this comparison, I'm not saying that one game is better than the other. I'm simply stating similarities, positives, and negatives of the Uncharted series and the reboot of Tomb Raider. So, let's get right into the comparison between these two action-adventure games, starting off with Tomb Raider and then moving into Uncharted. So in 2013, when Crystal Dynamics was rebooting the Tomb Raider franchise and retelling the story of Lara Croft, I was excited to see the direction they'd take it, and I apologize in advance if I say Lara Croft instead of Lara Croft. I know fans get a little bit picky when it comes to pronunciation, so like I said, apologies in advance. The story has pretty much been the same throughout the entire Tomb Raider franchise. There's a hidden, forbidden treasure that has mystical powers that Lara tries to find, and she's ultimately not alone when there's other people looking for that said treasure as well. There's some supernatural enemies, but unlike the previous Tomb Raider games, Lara actually has a lot of friends. And these friends really don't matter considering they're not important to the story and you never really feel attached to them. Luckily, they're not there long. And with friends comes forgettable enemies, because just like the majority of Lara's friends, you could pretty much forget about them and pretend they don't even exist. Except for one reoccurring enemy that calls themselves Trinity and apparently knows what happens to Lara's father. Rise of the Tomb Raider has a lot of replayability, even though if it doesn't have multiplayer, especially now that the new Tomb Raider series is basically an open world, hub world type game, which allows for a lot of free roam and backtracking in places that you've already been throughout the story. Speaking of the single player aspects of the game, the graphics. The graphics for the new Tomb Raider series is top notch, especially on Xbox One, Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's probably the best looking game on Xbox right now. Obviously, if you have a PC, it will look even better. Both Tomb Raider and Uncharted are very, very beautiful games graphically. But how does it play? The gameplay. What I've noticed over these past two Tomb Raider reboot games is that they're shying away from the puzzles, the trivia, and making that all optional, being optional tombs. Now the franchise is focusing more on stealth mechanics and gunplay. And that's fine and all, but the gunplay in Tomb Raider just isn't quite there. Not saying it's bad, you know, it's acceptable. Lara also moves in this like repetitive crouch motion whenever there's an enemy nearby, and that's like the only animation that she has. The cover mechanics aren't the best, they're just okay. You can't necessarily hide to cover, you're just crouching behind cover. You don't stick to the walls that you're trying to get cover on, but what makes that all acceptable in my opinion is the new crafting mechanic that's similar to Naughty Dog's Last of Us. It lets you approach a lot of situations in different ways, whether you want to distract the enemy, make a Molotov, or some type of spike bomb. It really adds the strategy and the way you want to play as Lara. There's also a skill tree, so as you progress and do all the side missions, you become an OP tank at the end of the game, where you could basically just do everything. You could upgrade and craft weapons. You have an eagle vision essentially from Assassin's Creed. If you click in the thumbstick, you could see all the highlighted objects such as treasures or objectives that you have to go to. And speaking of treasures, all the treasures and collectibles within this game have audio logs to tell the story. It tells missing little details here and there of what the enemy did before this and what they're trying to do. The collectibles are worth getting in my opinion. They have backstory. They're not just something you look at and then be on your way. Overall, I really do enjoy the way the new Tomb Raider series is playing out. It's not jumping from one story to the next like the old Tomb Raider games where it's following a set pathline of Lara's adventures along with telling a new story and further finding out about her father. This is a series where I had little to no opinion on just like 5 months ago. I thought it was just a ripoff of Tomb Raider and it was just Tomb Raider with a guy. And my opinions have changed ever since I got my hands on a PlayStation 4, played the Uncharted collection, and now I'm playing Uncharted 4. Uncharted has a lot to offer, but let's start off with the story. Similar to Tomb Raider, the plot is essentially the same. We have Nathan Drake, a treasure hunter looking for treasure of so-and-so, with bad guys trying to find it as well. Usually the bad guys are in groups of 2 to 3. You fight some type of supernatural enemy at one point, or animal type thing, which leads to the bad guys getting their hands on the treasure first, but ultimately getting killed by the treasure because of Nathan Drake. It's a cliche that works, I guess, and it's been taking part in basically all Uncharted games so far. But what Uncharted does better than Tomb Raider, in my opinion, is that it makes for memorable characters. Nathan Drake is a memorable character. All of his sidekicks like Sully and Elena, they're memorable as well, even the villains. Except for the villains in Uncharted 3. I don't even remember those guys' names. Naughty Dog does an amazing job of letting the player get attached to these characters, but doesn't really do anything else with that. The good guy always wins no matter how close the odds are, the bad guy always loses, and it's a live happily ever after type game. Not only was I surprised on how well this game is put together and presented by the previous 3 Uncharteds, I actually really do enjoy the fact that this is a linear game. Although Uncharted 4 is a more open linear game, I really enjoy linear games at times because nowadays there's a new open world experience game out every single month and you just can't play all of that. Although single player is a great experience for the Uncharted series, it doesn't have that much replay value towards like a Tomb Raider game. Luckily, the multiplayer is where it has a lot of replay value, and Uncharted 4 has a lot of pack openings and cosmetics that you could buy and equip for your player, along with microtransactions. Luckily, these microtransactions don't benefit how good you are at the game, it's just cosmetic stuff, which you could easily earn points by just playing the multiplayer. So let's talk about the graphics next. The past 3 Uncharted games for the PlayStation 3 look absolutely phenomenal for their time, and they still hold up quite well actually. Uncharted 4 is no different, the cutscenes are absolutely beautiful, the facial expressions and Drake feels more human. And just like Tomb Raider, Uncharted 4 is probably the most beautiful, graphically intense game on the PlayStation 4. As of right now at least. I don't know how Naughty Dog does it. So how does this game play? The single player of Uncharted does more puzzles than Tomb Raider actually does. It's kind of weird considering Tomb Raider was kind of the one that started it, and now Uncharted just basically took that crown, considering there's a lot of puzzles in all of these Uncharted games. Some of them more difficult than others, and some of them just wants to make you throw your controller across the room. Uncharted's always been about the combat, but now ever since part 3, it's been implementing these stealth mechanics, and in Uncharted 4 you could basically finish quite a few missions without killing a single person, which leads us into the covering mechanics of this game. I had a friend that said this is the best competitive third-person cover-based shooter ever. He must have not played a lot of third-person shooter games. Don't get me wrong, the cover system is great in all the Uncharted series games, but to say it's the best ever? That's a bold statement. I enjoy the cover system more in Uncharted than Tomb Raider because it reminds me more of a Gears of War like type game. The guns feel very realistic in the Uncharted series, and the amount of animations that the characters have is way more than Lara Croft does in the Tomb Raider franchise so far. And one very minor thing that Tomb Raider does better than Uncharted is with the collectibles. The collectibles tell a story. In Uncharted, all you do is turn around an object and it doesn't really tell you much. Overall, I loved Uncharted for what it was. Unfortunately, I wish they would have tied up some loose ends with characters that they didn't mention anymore at one point. And in my opinion, this is the best series that is a PlayStation exclusive. So thank you guys for getting to this point of the video. At the end here, we're going to be breaking down my opinions on Tomb Raider and Uncharted. We're going to have a little graphic on screen right about now. Here are some of the positives that I found that one game does better than the other. These are just my opinions. The comment section is for you to voice your opinion in the comment section below, letting me know which game you prefer, Tomb Raider or Uncharted. Personally, I enjoy both games. I really do. I have the 2 new Tomb Raider games, and I have the whole Uncharted collection now that Uncharted 4 dropped. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review on both of these games, and I hope you guys enjoyed the comparison as well. If you did, be sure to click the like button down below. It really helps me out by spreading the video around, because these videos do take a long time to make. A lot of editing goes into this. So I'd be extremely grateful if you share this on Reddit, Twitter, or any other social media that you have. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.